Welcome. Today we will delve into a country that many consider secretive and simple, but behind its facade lie mysteries capable of overturning your understanding of traditions, power, and survival. In this small state, where simplicity and poverty seem to reign at first glance, events occur that can shock even the most seasoned researchers. Bans on wearing European underwear, festivals where the king chooses a wife from among dozens of girls, and an HIV rate that is one of the highest in the world. How did it happen that a country, which seems fantastic and even absurd, remains one of the most closed and contradictory? What secrets are hidden in its ancient traditions and modern power? At stake is our understanding of cultural roots, the struggle for survival, and the power of traditions that continue to govern the destinies of millions. In this video, we will piece together all the fragments and reveal a hidden picture that will shake your perception. So stay tuned and move on to the first chapter to find out why this small state is more than it seems at first glance. In the heart of southern Africa, among endless plains where the air is filled with the scent of dry grass and winds sweeping from endless hills, lies a mystery, a country that seems both fairy tale-like and dangerous and entirely unusual. Eswatini, a small kingdom about which most easily form stereotypes: poor, wild, traditional, caught in the past. But as soon as you step onto its land, a picture unfolds before you, filled with contradictions, hidden meanings, and legends that seem to whisper about the depth of this unique world. This land is not just another point on the map, but a living museum of ancient customs, modern challenges, and mysteries hidden behind the facade of apparent simplicity. Many believe that simplicity reigns in Eswatini. The street is just dust, wooden markets, modest houses, and people busy with their affairs, as if stuck in past eras. But history holds evidence to the contrary. Within this simplicity lie complex social mechanisms, ancient traditions that have shaped the identity of the people for centuries, and laws that few know outside the kingdom. Not everyone knows that unusual laws operate in this small state, sometimes causing bewilderment among foreigners. For example, the ban on wearing European underwear is not just a whim, but an expression of a particular understanding of modesty and traditional morality. Or restrictions on crowing roosters, which, according to belief, disturb peace and spiritual balance. These laws testify to a deep respect for harmony, for traditional values that, in part, hold the country in their embrace despite global changes. At the center of this world is the king. His figure is not only a political leader, but a living embodiment of legends and myths. The annual Reed Dance Festival is not just a ceremony for choosing a spouse, but a true spectacle that transforms the monarch into a living symbol of national identity. On this day, the king is like a character from ancient tales, surrounded by patterned fabrics, the sound of drums, and the scents of spices. He chooses his consort from among women who arrive in bright garments adorned with traditional patterns, their eyes filled with awe and hope. This ritual is not just a ceremony, but a key to understanding how ancient traditions and modern power coexist in Eswatini, how culture carefully preserves its roots despite external pressures. Yet behind this rich culture lie dark sides. The high level of HIV infection is one of the most daunting facts, indicating the country's internal struggle. Massive prevention campaigns, unsuccessful attempts to change attitudes towards the disease. All of this shows how deeply rooted the problem is in the social and cultural fabric of society. Analysis reveals that in this matter, the country has become a hostage to heritage, stereotypes, and a lack of access to information. And yet, despite this challenge, the people continue to fight, because faith in the future, faith in their children, is their main motivation. Eswatini is not only about traditions and challenges, it is also about myths and legends. At the center of the coat of arms is the image of a lion, a symbol of strength and power, surrounded by decorations that speak of the rich history of the dynasty that has ruled the country for centuries. These symbols bear witness to the struggle for survival, ancient traditions, and the people's connection to the land. Myths associated with the coat of arms are passed down orally, reminding us that this country is not just a political entity, but a living legend, filled with symbols, and faith in the power of ancestors. But the main question that arises when looking at this country is why, despite all its uniqueness, does Eswatini remain one of the most closed and contradictory in the world? Why does a country that seems so fairy tale-like, so mysterious, and even absurd from an outsider's perspective, continue to keep its borders closed, its secrets under lock and key? Why do its people seem to live by laws alien to the modern world, yet face some of the most acute social problems? The answer lies in the fact that Eswatini is a mirror reflecting the complex relationships between tradition and modernity, between past and future. It is a place where every step is a challenge, and every tradition is not just a ritual, but a living shield protecting the unique identity of the people. A country that seems simple at first glance contains many contradictions, hidden conflicts, and historical layers that cannot be understood without delving into its depths. It is these mysteries that make Eswatini truly unique, and in this lies its strength. In this enigma lies its allure. What does this small state hide? What stories does it tell about itself and the people who inhabit it? And what can it teach us, the contemporaries, about the value of traditions, the necessity of balance between the old and the new, the strength of spirit, and that true wealth is hidden not in opulent buildings or modern technologies, but in roots, in legends, and in faith in the future? These questions remain open as we view it through the prism of stereotypes, not noticing that at the heart of this country beats the pulse of ancient traditions and modern challenges, united in a single rhythm, capable of changing not only the country, but also our own destiny. In the heart of southern Africa, on the border between plains and mountains, where the air is filled with the sense of wild nature and ancient legends, lies a country whose history is a tapestry of the struggle for identity, the fight for sovereignty, and the search for its place in the world. It bears a name that in recent years has remained in memory as a symbol of change, Eswatini. But before delving into the depths of this history, it is important to understand how it came to be, what roots are hidden beneath modern facades, and why the name of this country was changed. Once, this land was called Swaziland, the land of the Swazi people. This name was cherished in the heart of every inhabitant, like a sacred talisman, a testament to their ancient traditions and unique culture. It was passed down from generation to generation, reminding them of the ancient ancestors who, in the 15th century, during the era of great migrations, left the shores of the Indian Ocean and ventured into the continent's interior. Their arrival was not accidental. Displaced by the mighty Zulus, these people found a new land where they could take root, preserve their identity, and develop a unique language, customs, and beliefs. It was these migrations and encounters with other peoples that shaped the face of the Swazi people. Over 2 centuries, they settled among plains and mountains, creating a rich culture filled with legends and rituals that are still alive in songs and dances. History shows that their society was organized around strong monarchical power, where every clan and family felt their belonging to a great tradition based on respect for ancestors and harmony with nature. But the fate of this land was inextricably linked to the colonial past. In the 19th century, when European powers rushed to establish their borders and influences, this country found itself at the center of Britain's attention. The kingdom's authorities, wishing to maintain their independence, tried to balance between traditions and new rules imposed from outside. Eventually, under the pressure of colonial interests, the country became part of the British imperial space, turning into a colony ruled by foreign laws and foreign power. This period was a time of trials for the Swazi people, for their culture, and for their freedom. Only by the mid-20th century, when sparks of hope for independence ignited around the world, did this land gain the long-awaited freedom. In the 1960s, the national will resonated louder than ever. The country gained independence, and its coat of arms featured symbols that still tell the story of its history and values. The shield depicts a lion and an elephant, symbols of power, strength, and wisdom. The lion, as a testament to royal authority and the struggle to preserve traditions, and the elephant, as an emblem of the people's resilience and unity. These symbols are not mere decorations, but living evidence of a history that holds proof of the struggle to preserve its culture and freedom. The coat of arms is complemented by a hat resembling a pineapple, a symbol of hospitality, wealth, and fertility. Beneath it is the motto in the Swazi language, Siankaba, "We are a fortress." This slogan is like the people's cry, their belief in strength and steadfastness. The population of the country is just over 1 million people, and each one is a bearer of a rich history, unique culture, and unwavering will to develop. An area of 17,000 square kilometers is not just territory. It is a living organism filled with the voices of ancestors and modernity, seeking a balance between preserving traditions and the need to adapt to a rapidly changing world. But how have these historical events shaped the modern face of Eswatini? How has the colonial past, with its struggles and compromises, influenced the fact that today this country is not only heritage and traditions, but also a challenge for the future? At the heart of this question is the conflict between the past and the present, between traditional monarchy and modern development demands, between preserving unique identity and the necessity of integrating into the global economic system. History shows that colonial influence left deep traces in society. It shaped political structures, educational systems, and economic relations. Yet simultaneously, it became a catalyst for the national movement, the struggle for independence and identity. Within the country, a dialogue continues: how to preserve ancient customs while moving forward without losing uniqueness. In this confrontation, the true identity of Eswatini is born, a country standing at the crossroads between traditions and modernity, between respect for roots and the necessity of innovation. It is this historical conflict between heritage and progress that defines its current face. The Swazi people, having preserved their traditions, face the challenges of globalization, economic development, and social change. The internal tension of this confrontation, like a hidden thread, runs through every generation, every street, every heart. Where is the boundary between preserving heritage and the necessity of change? How not to lose one's soul in the whirlwind of modern trends? These questions resonate in every conversation, every glance, every decision. And in this lies a lesson for the whole world. In an era of constant change, when boundaries blur and identity is tested, this country shows that preserving traditions is not a refusal to develop, but their harmonious combination. The history of Eswatini is not just a tale of a name change or the symbols on its coat of arms. It is a story of people who, despite centuries and trials, continue to fight for their culture, their land, their freedom. And so, pondering the future of this small yet proud country, one can understand its lessons are a reminder to us all. In a world where changes come swiftly and often cause anxiety, it is important to remember, roots are the foundation without which a tree cannot grow. Preserving one's identity is not a rejection of progress, but the art of finding balance between the past and the future, between tradition and innovation. This is the main essence of Eswatini's history, a country that teaches us to be strong in our uniqueness and wise in the changes that inevitably come. In the shadow of mountain peaks, in the heart of the southern part of the continent, lies a country that, with its appearance, history, and destiny, seems to embody the contradictions hidden in the very fabric of its existence. It is a place where wealth and poverty coexist side by side, like two ancient rivals fighting for control over the destinies of millions. Here, among dusty streets and quiet villages, one of the most acute and alarming problems of modernity unfolds: deep social inequality, which not only divides people by material means but also shapes their destinies, their hopes, and their despair. This land is a country where the average income barely reaches $2 a day, meaning that for most of its inhabitants, life is a constant struggle for survival. In every home, in every yard, the quiet but insistent voice of poverty is heard. In this vast world, where money is a luxury and basic needs often remain out of reach, the population lives on the edge. Half of the people do not have permanent jobs, not because there is no work, but because there is simply none for them. Unemployment is not a temporary phenomenon, but a constant companion of life, persistently reminding that opportunities for self-realization here are almost non-existent. In this context, the tragic statistics hold a special place. About 25% of the population is infected with HIV. This is evidence not only of a medical catastrophe, but also a social one. Legends of suffering and loss, of people who have lost their loved ones, fill minds, and history holds evidence of how the virus has penetrated every heart, destroying families and eroding the foundation of society. In this country, where healthcare often remains inaccessible and infrastructure weak, the fight against the epidemic becomes a battle for the future. Evidence shows that many villages, especially those located in remote corners, remain without electricity, without access to clean water and basic medical services, all of which complicates the already difficult struggle for life. Public transport is practically a myth, a luxury unavailable to most. People are forced to walk or ride old motorcycles, covering kilometers to reach the nearest markets, schools, or hospitals. Literacy, which has reached 80%, is the result of long efforts, yet it still does not allow many to escape the vicious cycle of poverty. Time flows more slowly here, but social problems are relentless shadows that give no peace. Immersing oneself in this world, one cannot help but notice one of the most poignant aspects: the city of Biu. Here, among dusty streets and modest houses, a special city has been built for orphans who lost their parents to HIV. This place is a symbol of both hope and despair. Children's eyes, full of fear and hope, tell their story, each face a testament to a future hanging by a thread, showing there is still strength to fight, no matter what. These children are living proof of how the tragedy of the war against the virus turns into a fighting club. Some give up, others continue to resist. Meanwhile, in the royal palace, there is wealth that seems unattainable for most. The monarchy, having inherited power over centuries, lives by its own rules. The royal family is not just a symbol, but a powerful political and economic institution, influencing all spheres of the country's life. Majestic palaces, palace gardens, luxurious clans, all this is evidence of wealth that seems alien, detached from the reality of millions. Analysis shows that this difference is not only a matter of finances, but a manifestation of a deeper social and political divide. Why do the wealth of the monarch and the poverty of the people exist in the same space, like two parallel worlds? Why do these two layers of society coexist without intersecting, without connecting, only making their contradiction obvious? The answer lies in the mechanisms that preserve and reinforce these differences. The royal power uses its wealth and influence to maintain the status quo, to keep wealth within a narrow elite. While the majority of the population struggles to survive, the elite enjoys privileges entrenched by centuries of tradition and politics. However, the truth is that these mechanisms are not only political or economic, they are social. They are invisible threads, linking wealth and poverty, creating an illusion of stability, but in reality, a vicious cycle that is difficult to escape. What mechanisms preserve these contrasts? Why, despite international initiatives, aid programs, and internal efforts, does the level of poverty remain so high? Why, despite progress in literacy and healthcare, does the majority of the population continue to live in conditions that can be described as among the poorest in the world? The answer lies in a system that uses social inequality as a tool of power, where wealth is not the result of labor but inheritance, and poverty is not an accident but a pattern. This system feeds on fear, hopelessness, and inequality, entrenching them through traditions, laws, and social practices. For the history of this place is not only a chronicle of suffering. This is also a story of resistance, of people who still find the strength to fight, to form alliances, to seek alternatives. In every village, in every heart, there is a hidden hope that one day the balance will shift, that justice will prevail, that the country can become a place where wealth and poverty are not two opposing poles, but two levels of the same human dignity. Yet these contradictions remain, and the question remains unanswered. Why do the wealth of the monarch and the poverty of the people coexist side by side in one country? Why does a system that should serve everyone serve only a select few? Why do mechanisms designed for unity and development turn into tools of division and oppression? The answers to these questions are hidden in the roots of history, in the fabric of power, and in the fates of millions whose lives are not just statistics, but living testimony to the struggle for justice. And behind all this is a hook that makes one ponder. What mechanisms, hidden behind the facades of power and wealth, allow such contrasts to persist? What forces stand behind the walls of palaces and the walls of poor villages? This country is a mirror of our world, where divisions are not only on the map, but also in the hearts of people. And to understand it is to understand the very nature of inequality, to understand why history holds such evidence, and what needs to be done to bridge this divide. Time relentlessly moves forward, and the answers to these questions are not only for this country, but for the entire world. At the heart of this small but incredibly important state, hidden behind the veil of traditions and modern challenges, lies a figure who embodies power, strength, and ancient customs, King Eswatini III. His reign, which began when most people were just starting their life journey, has continued for over 35 years. During this time, he has become not only a symbol of unity and stability, but also one of the wealthiest monarchs on the planet, whose fortune, according to experts, exceeds $110 million. The majestic palace, surrounded by picturesque gardens, is not just a residence. It is a fortress of power, a temple of traditions, and a symbol of wealth, shrouded in legends and myths passed down orally for centuries. In this place, time seems to slow down, and history itself holds evidence that power in Eswatini is not only politics, but also an ancient religion, in which the monarch occupies the position of not only a secular ruler, but also a spiritual leader. The dualism of power in Eswatini is not just a political feature, it is its very essence. Formally, the king acts within a constitutional framework, convened from consultations with parliament and councils of elders. But in fact, his word is law. Evidence of this is the numerous laws and decrees that are adopted without discussion, and decisions concerning the fate of the people emanate from the palace, as if from the center of the universe. Analysis shows that in this system, the monarchy holds not only the political levers, but also control over the cultural and spiritual life of the country. Most impressively, the king is inseparable from the traditional rituals that he personally leads. At the Reed Dance Festival, where young men and women in bright costumes dance to their ancient songs, the spirit of the people, their faith and hope, live in these movements and songs. At this moment, the king is not just an observer. He chooses who is worthy to become part of his entourage, who will continue the ancient hereditary line, who will preserve traditions, strengthening his power. The title Lion is not a random nickname. It symbolizes strength, power, and invincibility. In the eyes of the people, this is an image that emphasizes the monarch's status as the ruler and guardian of the people. The royal palace is not only a place of power, but also a symbol of wealth, the embodiment of power hidden behind walls adorned with gold and precious stones. Evidence suggests that the wealth of the crown is the result of control over natural resources, among which minerals, forest wealth, and strategically significant lands hold an important place. Power over resources is not only economic might, it is a guarantee of maintaining status and authority established over centuries. Resilience and strength distinguish this monarch's rule. But within the country, contradictions rage. Public opinion is divided. Some admire the preservation of traditions, believing that the monarchy is the foundation of national identity, the core that holds the country within the framework of ancient vows and rituals. Others, especially the younger generation, demand reforms, democracy, transparency, and participation in governance. The internal conflict is not only a struggle for power, but also a clash of cultural values, historical heritage, and modern demands. On one side are ancient legends that say power is given from above, that the monarch is not just a person but a living embodiment of divine force. On the other are real protests, demonstrations, demands for change that tear society apart from within. The central question that plagues analysts and observers is, why, despite internal protests and international pressure, does the monarch's power in Eswatini persist? Why does this ancient, seemingly outdated institution still hold its position despite the modern world's demands for democracy and human rights? Evidence shows that the strength of the monarchy lies not only in its wealth or authority, but also in its deep connection with the people, in traditions rooted in collective memory. This ancient regime is sustained by the people's belief in the sanctity and inviolability of the monarch, in a culture that has been shaped under his guidance for centuries. Within the country, the struggle for identity continues, to preserve ancient values or adapt to the challenges of the times. This struggle is not only political, it is symbolic, cultural, and spiritual. At its core lies the question, what forces and traditions sustain a system that seemingly should have long given way to change? In this region, where history intertwines with legends and power is not just governance but a sacred duty, the forces that uphold the monarchical system are deeply rooted in the past. Traditions, faith, the cult of personality, all these create a unique cocktail capable of withstanding even the strongest winds of change. Perhaps it is these forces, the people's faith, the cult of traditions, and the symbol of power, that sustain the monarchical system against all odds. Perhaps they are the invisible yet mighty foundation on which modern Eswatini stands, a country where past and present merge into a single entity, creating a unique image of power that continues to live, breathe, and hold the destinies of millions in its hands. This is a place where power is not just a right or law, but a living testament to history, culture, and faith, where the crown is not only a sign of monarchical authority, but a symbol of ancient vows and enduring traditions, where the monarch is not only a ruler, but a guardian of folk legends, a bearer of ancient knowledge, an embodiment of strength and stability. And it is these forces, faith, traditions, the cult, that continue to keep him on the throne, despite all the challenges of the times. In this place, in this ancient kingdom, history continues, and power is not just a fact, it is a legend that lives and breathes in the hearts of those who consider themselves part of it. In the shadow of tall palms, on sunlit savannas, where the air is filled with the aromas of cane and the wind that seems to whisper ancient legends, begins the story hidden behind the walls of the royal palace. It is a story of traditions that have shaped destinies for centuries, of rituals that retain their power through the ages, and of people whose choices and dreams are interwoven with the historical fabric of the nation. Today, we will tell of a festival that becomes a vivid mirror of culture, the Reed Dance celebration, its mysteries and contradictions, and what lies behind its splendid facade. Annually, at the height of summer, when the sun reaches its zenith, when the sky turns bright blue, and the air is filled with the sounds of drums and the voices of lovers, a grand event begins in the heart of the country. 3 days filled with songs, dances, and rituals turn into a struggle for destiny, dreams, and power. On the main square, tens of thousands of girls from all over the country gather, young, full of hopes and ambitions, each dreaming of becoming the new queen, the new wife of His Majesty. In their eyes sparkles the desire to be etched in the memory of the people, to attract the attention of the king, who, like a shadow of the past, like the voice of legends, chooses his new spouse among them. In their movements, there is not just a dance, but a message, a call, an invitation to the steps of power, to the palace halls where destinies are decided, and where each of them can become part of history. These girls come from all corners of the country, filled with hope and fear, hoping that their dance and beauty will be a ticket to a new life. Each of them understands their performance is not only a demonstration of talent and beauty, but also a symbol of their readiness to embrace a new role, to become part of an ancient chain of traditions. In their movements lies a belief in magic, in the power of rituals, in the hope that their dance will attract the king's favor. The ceremonial rituals of the festival are rooted in deep antiquity, in times when power and divinity were intertwined, and the choice of a spouse became an act of renewing power and a symbol of the people's unity. This festival is not just a secular event. It is a sacred ritual in which each girl hopes to find her destiny, and each spectator hopes to understand that more is happening here than meets the eye. The story of King Mswati III is a chronicle of numerous marriages that serve not only to strengthen power, but also to create legends and myths. In his life, there were from 1 to 15 wives, each bringing her individuality, her destinies, and secrets to his palace. And his father, the great ruler, had up to 70 wives and more than 210 children, making him the embodiment of power, wealth, and complex family ties. These numbers are testimonies not only of personal fate, but also of the history of the people, their social mechanisms, their views on the role of women, on power and wealth. Society has ingrained the understanding that participation in this festival is not just a chance for personal destiny, but an important social ritual that strengthens the connection with traditions, restoring the balance between generations. People view this event as a sacred act where the future of the people is determined through dance, through participation, and through heritage. But what makes so many young girls dream of becoming the king's wife? Why are they willing to overcome miles, endure trials, and give up the familiar and safe for this moment? Here arises a question that troubles every observer. What drives the participants of this festival? What motives? Hope, fear, social duty, the desire to change fate, compel them to perform on stage, risking everything. In an era when values and views on life are constantly changing, and the younger generation increasingly questions freedom and personal responsibility, the traditional festival becomes an arena of contradictions. It seems to divide society into two parts: those who continue to believe in the magic and power of rituals, and those who seek new paths, new meanings, new forms of self-realization. The central conflict of this grand festival is not only in the king's choice, but also in the motives of its participants. Why do they participate? For power, status, wealth, or perhaps for the illusion of love or self-assertion? Or maybe their participation is a protest against imposed roles, a challenge to the tradition that limits them. Within this event lies a contradiction. On one hand, the belief in the magic and sanctity of rituals, and on the other, the desire for freedom, for independent choice. This conflict permeates the festival's atmosphere, creating tension and raising questions. How relevant are these traditions to the modern world? What do they say about the people for whom this celebration is not only cultural heritage, but also a test of spirit? What is the true meaning? In power or in dreams, in social roles or in human courage? The answers are hidden in the heart of each participant, in their gaze, in their movements, in the story they create. And finally, what truly lies behind this grand event? What is its real meaning? Is it the power conveyed through rituals? The dream of a better life offered by the chance to become a queen? Or the social role, the traditions that bind generations and preserve national identity? Perhaps it is all of these together. This festival is a mirror reflecting all the complexities and hopes of the people, their aspiration for renewal, and their struggle to preserve their culture. The story of this celebration is not only about dance and the selection of brides, but also about people standing at the threshold between the old and the new, between tradition and modernity. It is more than an event. It is a living testament to power, to culture, to dreams and fears. In every movement, in every glance, in every gesture, lies a story that holds its evidence in the memory of the people, in legends passed down from generation to generation. Only those who can listen and see will understand what truly happens behind the bright lights of the festival, behind the fervent songs and tears of joy. This is a story about people and culture, about power and freedom, about dreams and reality. And it continues, every summer, every time the sun bathes the land in gold, and the heart of the people beats in unison with the rhythms of ancient songs. In this event lies all the complexity and beauty of life, and the mystery that begs to be unraveled, to understand what is hidden behind the facade of the grand celebration, behind the reed dance. In the heart of the African continent, in a land where traditions intertwine with modernity, lies a country whose laws and customs provoke not only amazement, but also deep reflection on the boundaries of freedom and cultural identity. Eswatini, a state where every word of the law is steeped in rich history and ancient legends, where the belief in the power of traditions not only lives in the hearts of the people, but defines their destinies, their thoughts, their actions. In this world, shrouded in the mist of time and cultural layers, every norm is not an accident, but a sacred code of rules, meant to preserve the unique image of the people and their ancient customs. Traveling through the narrow streets of the capital, it is impossible not to feel how the scents of local dishes mix with the aromas of fresh reeds and red earth, soaked in centuries. There, among the bustling markets and austere buildings, lie the testimonies of how deeply these norms are rooted in society. Here, in this corner of the world, history holds evidence that in Eswatini, personal freedom is a luxury that must be judiciously limited to preserve order, traditional morality, and public consensus. But why so strict? What are the objectives of these rules, if they often contradict all modern notions of rights and freedoms? The mystery of this question lies in the complex fabric of culture, which has been shaped over centuries by spiritual beliefs, legends, and social structures. In a country where witchcraft is not only a terrifying secret, but also part of popular beliefs, where strict order reigns in the streets and every piece of clothing, every gesture carries meaning, restrictions become a kind of spiritual weapon. They are a defense against chaos, a safeguard of ancient values that are trying to be preserved amidst rapid modernization. Yet, these measures provoke debates, internal conflicts, and reflections. Do these laws truly serve the people's welfare, or are they a reflection of fear of change, an attempt to maintain power and traditions at any cost? It is impossible not to notice how restraint and discipline in this society become a kind of symbol of national identity. In the capital, where fences and walls conceal the inner world of people, there is a strict ban on wearing European underwear. It is believed to blur the boundaries between traditional culture and modernity, disrupting the harmony of the inner world. Women here are forbidden to wear trousers and short skirts, as such attire is perceived as a provocation, a challenge to ancient rules that have shaped the status and role of women in society for centuries. Violating these rules leads to arrest, fines, public humiliation. And all this is not just laws, but evidence of how deep the roots of cultural identity can be. Within this complex world, there exists another, no less mysterious aspect: witchcraft and sorcery. Strictly prohibited practices, considered dangerous and sinister, hold a special status among popular beliefs. Evidence shows that in the local people's imagination, witches can fly up to 250 meters. And this is not just a myth, but part of the established legends passed down from generation to generation. These stories are not only tales, but also warnings, and simultaneously a manifestation of cultural memory that serves as a barrier against the destruction of spiritual values. In this context, witchcraft is not just magic, but a symbol of resistance, a way to maintain a connection with ancestors and their wisdom. Even in the capital, where life is bustling, there are unusual restrictions. For example, keeping more than 10 chickens or raising roosters. Why? Because the crowing of roosters disturbs the king's peace, disrupting his sleep and tranquility. Everything here is interconnected. Every rule is part of a complex system designed to maintain order, respect for authority, and traditions. These prohibitions are not random, but part of a strategic concept to preserve stability, to prevent society from fragmenting into separate, conflicting groups. But what does all this mean? Why does the state so strictly regulate even seemingly minor, personal aspects of life. Analysis shows that these restrictions are not just measures to maintain order. They are an attempt to strengthen collective consciousness, to hide individuality within a unified cultural model, where individual freedoms are subordinated to public interests. This is a kind of social contract in which personal freedom is not an absolute right, but part of the common good. In this context, the strictness of the laws serves not only to combat chaos, but also to fight for the spiritual integrity of the nation, for its image, which has been shaped over centuries. Yet, behind these laws lie deep contradictions. After all, every prohibition is not only a keeper of order, but also a source of internal conflict. Many young women, for example, dream of the freedom to choose, of their own style and voice, which are not limited by traditional frameworks. But they live in a society where every movement is a challenge, where every look and every piece of clothing can be a reason not only for a fine but also for condemnation. The internal conflict between the desire to be oneself and the fear of losing respect reflects not only personal fate, but also the fate of the entire country. Against this backdrop, the depth and complexity of what is happening become increasingly apparent. These laws and restrictions are not just external attributes, not just rules imposed from above. They are living testimony that in a world where traditions and faith are stronger than modernity, freedom is not so much a right as a challenge that requires courage, strength, and inner resilience. And although many may consider these norms outdated or harsh, analysis shows that at their core is an attempt to preserve something very important: a connection with ancestors, spiritual integrity, and cultural uniqueness. And this is the main meaning of this story. In a world where laws and prohibitions seem imposed from outside, it is they that shape the character of the people, their inner world, and their future. Every norm is not just a restriction, but a part of a complex mosaic that defines who we are. And although these boundaries sometimes seem insurmountable, it is through them that the true essence of the people is revealed: their faith, their struggle for identity, and their unwavering determination to preserve their roots no matter what. Eswatini is a country where traditions live in every glance, in every gesture, where the past and present are intertwined in a single dance, and where every note is both a challenge and a promise. In this world, full of prohibitions and legends, every person is a witness to the historical struggle to preserve uniqueness. And this is what makes Eswatini not just a country on the map, but a living, breathing monument to cultural resilience, a reflection of the eternal struggle between freedom and order, between the past and the future. In this world, where history holds evidence and legends come alive with every movement, every restriction is part of a deep, multi-layered narrative of people who continue to believe that their culture is not just a set of rules but the living heart of their nation, beating in rhythm with ancient history and modernity. In the heart of southern Africa, hidden behind the shadow of towering mountains and endless savannas, lies a small state whose grandeur and resilience defy its size. Eswatini is a country where nature tells its ancient legends, and the struggle to preserve its riches turns into an epic drama, where the fate of every animal and every patch of land becomes a testament to human determination and vulnerability. Here, among mountain peaks covered with dense forests and on the boundless expanses of the savanna, life thrives in a unique balance, a balance between beauty and danger, between wealth and threat. At first glance, it is hard to believe that such riches are hidden within this country. Majestic mountains reaching for the sky, like the peaks of ancient gods, guard an entire world. A world of elephants moving along paths like living witnesses of millennia-old history. Their mighty bodies, covered in gray and beige skin, like walking sculptures, cross valleys and plains, leaving behind traces that tell of a life full of struggle for survival. In these same expanses, gray zebras, graceful and swift, like shadows flickering among the grasses, witnesses to the endless race for resources, for a place under the sun. And in the water bodies, lost among rocky gorges, lurk crocodiles, ancient predators guarding their territories with ruthless tenacity, maintaining balance in an ecosystem that is itself like a living witness to the relentless processes of nature. Yet, despite all its beauty, Eswatini is devoid of a coastline. There is no gentle ocean breeze, no sandy beaches that attract tourists from around the world. Instead, the country, as if hidden in the heart of the continent, is surrounded by mountains and arid plains. And yet, its nature reserves are true fortresses, where nature is protected with incredible strictness, like a precious amulet passed down from generation to generation. In these protected spaces, as if in armor, rare species of animals are hidden, which cannot be found elsewhere. Elephants that can only be seen on safari, zebras flickering in the grass, and crocodiles that, like elders, keep their secrets in the water bodies. Protecting all this is no easy task. In the protected areas, special rangers work, armed not only with modern weapons, but also with high determination. Their mission is to fight poachers who, like shadows, infiltrate the reserves to kill rare animals for profit. These people are brave guardians of nature, often risking their lives to preserve what remains. The law in their hands allows them to shoot to kill poachers. This makes them some of the toughest defenders of natural wealth in Africa. In their eyes burns the fire of struggle. In their hearts lies a deep understanding of the responsibility for every life, every plant, every drop of water that maintains balance in this fragile ecosystem. Tours and safaris are an integral part of life in these reserves. Tourists, despite high risks and warnings, eagerly climb into jeeps to see majestic elephants, graceful zebras, and dangerous crocodiles up close. Their hearts are filled with both admiration and anxiety, because each encounter could be the last if poachers break through the protective lines again. Yet, these tours are not only a source of income, but also an important element in the fight for nature conservation. Internal initiatives and international projects unite to form a powerful chain of protection, a network where each link supports another, where every contribution matters. History holds evidence that the fight for nature is not only about military operations or laws. It is a cultural mission, a challenge to society, its values and priorities. Within the country, a debate is raging. How strict should the measures be to preserve these riches? Can the country, despite its poverty, afford to fight hard and uncompromisingly? These questions are not only about protecting animals or nature, but also about the future, about whether Eswatini can maintain its unique ecological identity in the face of human greed and global challenges. Because, ultimately, it is not just about animals or laws, it is about values, about what we are willing to leave for future generations. What values define our ability to protect the beauty of the world, even if it means taking risks, even if the cost is human life or material losses? What challenges face a country that must balance between preserving natural wealth and fighting for survival amid internal and external instability? The history of this small country is not only a chronicle of the struggle for nature. It is a testament that even in the most challenging conditions, hope can be preserved. Hope that nature, despite all trials, will continue to live, that its wealth will be valued and protected. This is a challenge posed to us by the earth itself, a challenge requiring not only strength and determination, but also wisdom. And in this challenge, in this struggle, lies the wisdom that history holds, and which perhaps today we need to hear more than ever. In the depths of southern Africa, among dusty plains and green hills, lies a country whose history is not only a chronicle of ancient traditions, but also a constant struggle for balance. Eswatini, a nation where past and present are woven into a complex pattern, where every movement of the people reflects deep roots and a bold desire to move forward. This is a place where age-old customs not only persist, but also fight for their place in a world as swift and unpredictable as the winds sweeping across the steppes. The history of this state is a testament to the perseverance of a people who, on one hand, preserve their legends and rituals, and on the other, face the challenges of the modern age: poverty, epidemics, social changes. At the heart of this country beats the indomitable rhythm of traditions, such as the choosing of wives at festivals. These vibrant, colorful, and sonorous events where young men and women gather to display their strength, dignity, and connection to their ancestors. These rituals are not just ceremonies. They are living proof that even in the era of globalization, in a world where borders are fading and culture becomes increasingly universal, roots remain strong. However, behind the facade of traditional life lie complex issues. The country's legislation and social norms attempt to meet new realities, seeking harmony between the ancient and the modern. In these efforts lies its own drama. Within the country, contradictions arise. Some see traditions as a source of spiritual strength and unity, while others view them as an obstacle to progress and equality. In this confrontation, laws are born that try to regulate, restrict, or conversely, support ancient customs to preserve identity while keeping pace with the world. The country faces serious problems requiring not just words and declarations, but innovative solutions. The high level of HIV infections, affecting a significant portion of the population, is evidence not only of a medical crisis, but also of a profound social challenge. In conditions of poverty, many families live where access to education and healthcare is a luxury, and the struggle for survival is a daily reality. These facts are not just statistics. They are evidence of how difficult it is to maintain a balance between culture and the need for modernization. The royal power remains the center of authority and a symbol of national unity. Its influence is felt at every step, in every ritual, in every decision. But it is this centralization that also provokes protests. The younger generation, eager for change, demands renewal, more democratic approaches, greater openness. Within the country, a dialogue is emerging, sometimes quiet, sometimes loud, about what is more important, to preserve ancient traditions or to allow new ideas to develop freely. Eswatini is not just a country, it is a living organism where constant dynamics shape a unique cultural landscape. Here, the past does not recede into the background. It lives in every movement, in every glance, in every word. Modernity, with its speed and challenges, demands flexibility from the people, the ability to adapt without losing their identity. This is the main challenge, the main question facing this country. Can traditions adapt to the challenges of the 21st century and retain their significance? Can they become not only a heritage passed down from generation to generation, but also a force that helps society move forward? This is the true drama of Eswatini. The country must find its balance, its equilibrium, between preserving its uniqueness and the necessity for development. And this is not only a cultural issue, it is a matter of survival, future, and national identity. Lessons can be drawn from this little-known corner of Africa that transcend national borders. In a world where traditions are often subordinated to a global standard, where values change at the speed of light, Eswatini offers an example: how to preserve one's soul without losing the ability to adapt. Can a country rooted in centuries-old customs become an example for the entire world? The question remains open. But one thing is clear: the story of this people is not only a tale of the past, but a challenge and an opportunity for the future. In its every movement, there is evidence that traditions can be alive, if skillfully combined with modernity. And perhaps, in this harmony, lies the answer to the main question of the era: how to preserve one's identity while keeping pace with the times.